Innovative talk of Ms. Rimjim Singh, the undergraduate student of medical science, on which I have been again invited to present the second talk of the channel on methane emissions with the special reference to cows, the facts and maths. In present time, bar, trade talk and lock, selective preservance, preference and protection in word are highlights in print, electronic and social media. It has completely overshadowed the collective commitment on climate action and climate justice under climate change. Though it is temporary phase and hope world will return back to obvious path of normalcy very soon. With this initial remark, it will be better to start the topic from the world leaders' commitment in United Nations under Sustainable Goal 13, take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. This goal has a spectrum of 5 targets, named Target 13.1, strengthen resilience and adaptive capacity to climate-related disasters, 13.2, integrate climate change measures into policies and planning, 13.3, build knowledge and capacity to meet climate change, 13A, implement the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, 13B, promote mechanism to raise capacity for climate planning and management. Besides, world is also committed for zero hunger under United Nations Sustainable Goal 2. Under this goal, 6 targets have been set. Target 2.1, universal access to safe and nutritious food. Target 2.2, end all forms of malnutrition. Target 2.3, double the productivity and income of small-scale food producers. Target 2.4, sustainable food production and resilient agricultural practices. Target 2.5, maintain the genetic diversity in food production. Target 2A, invest in rural infrastructure, agricultural research, technology and gene bank. Target 2.B, prevent agricultural trade restrictions, market distortions and export subsidies. Target 2.C, ensure stable food commodity market and timely access to information to achieve the commitment of the zero hunger. In between these two global commitments, the complex debatable topic, methane emission with a special reference to cows, the facts and myths, has been selected for talk. The talk is organized for presentation under the subheads listed below: biogenic carbon cycle, methane as greenhouse gas, sources of methane, natural, anthropogenic sources, methane emissions and its uses, fact sheet on methane emission from adult cows, factors influencing methane emission from food animals, initiative of Bharat on the methane control, conclusive remarks. To understand the subject, it is obvious to discuss the carbon atom cycling governing the methane and carbon dioxide concentration in the nature first under the biogenic carbon cycle. The carbon atom of food is synthesized by plants using carbon dioxide of atmosphere in photosynthesis. This carbon of food is upcycled for growth and other metabolic processes of the plants and animals. During digestion and assimilation of food, some of its part is returned back to the atmosphere as byproducts in the form of carbon dioxide and methane. This methane remains in the atmosphere for approximately 12 years before it is converted to carbon dioxide. The carbon atom of carbon dioxide is again used in photosynthesis of food in plants. The burial of plants and animals build carbon reserve of geological storage, which is used in the form of fossil fuel. This completes the natural biogenic carbon cycle. Thus, within the biogenic carbon cycle, the carbon atom is recycled between carbon sinks of earth and ocean, carbon in biological form in plants and animals on Earth's surface and sea, and carbon dioxide and methane in atmosphere. The component carbon dioxide and methane in atmosphere is to be monitored efficiently to maintain the health of carbon cycle and planet Earth. The greenhouse gases cause globe earth warming. The water vapor, carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, chlorofluorocarbons, perfluorocarbons, hydrofluorocarbons, sulfur hexafluoride, nitrogen trifluoride, ozone exert greenhouse effect. In accordance to abundance and share in contribution to greenhouse effect, methane is second powerful greenhouse gas after carbon dioxide. It absorbs and emits radiant energy that traps heat in the atmosphere and contributes to global warming of our planet Earth. Though methane makes up only 10% of global greenhouse gases, and it persists in the atmosphere for around 12 years compared with centuries for carbon dioxide. Its warming impact is much more powerful, as individual molecule of methane trap 28 times more heat in the atmosphere over 100 years compared to individual molecule of carbon dioxide, making it super pollutants. The concentration of methane is increasing day by day in the atmosphere, reducing the geological carbon sink. Because of its more powerful warming impact and short lifespan, cutting methane emission is expected to be more useful in controlling global warming and climate change. To address the issue, Global Methane Pledge was launched in 2021. Of 110 countries which are part of the Global Methane Pledge launched in 2021, the United States, Brazil are the top methane emitters from all anthropogenic sources. Amongst Global Methane Pledge non-participant countries, China was top of methane emitters, followed by India and Russia. Therefore, it is obvious to discuss and address the debatable issue. The methane is produced in nature and through human activities both. In nature, it has been found that majority of the world's methane emissions come from natural wetlands, where the oxygen-poor environment in waterlogged soil encourages methane production from plants and animal species that have evolved to live in them. Besides, volcanic activity, wildfires, permafrost, ocean-dwelling microbes also contribute in methane production. The check on this natural methane emission is beyond control of human power. The man-made sources are termed as anthropogenic sources. According to the Global Methane Assessment Report 2021 of United Nations Environment Programme, the major anthropogenic methane emissions comes from agriculture, energy sector and livestock. In this way, the most significant anthropogenic driver of methane-related climate change are what we produce, what we eat, and what we drive. Human can regulate only anthropogenic component of the methane emissions and elaborated in this talk. Amongst anthropogenic sources, agriculture ranks first in global methane emission. In it, cultivation of rice is at top, as rice is cultivated in saturated paddy fields that prevents oxygen from penetrating the soil, thereby creating an ideal environment for the methane emitting bacteria to thrive. The Bharat, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand of global Southeast Asia, China of East Asia are major rice producing countries in the universe, accounting for more than 90% of the world's rice production. The China and Bharat are world's largest rice producer, collectively accounting for over half of the global output. Bharat is the world's largest exporter of rice also, and exports flavored basmati rice to USA, European Union, and both basmati and non-basmati rice to Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, United Arab Emirates, and several African and Asian nations including China. The rice is a staple food with billions of people relying on it for sustenance. Therefore, if rice is tackled for cutting methane emission, will severely affect the United Nations Sustainable Goal 2 aims to achieve zero hunger, especially in developing nations. But the one area where we can focus in agriculture is check on the food waste. According to the United Nations and Food and Agriculture Organization, around 14%, and according to the Food Waste Index Report 2021, 17% of food produced in total is lost between harvest, retail, and consumption chain worldwide. This lost food is enough to feed everyone in the short of food on the planet. The production of this lost food consumes 21% of all fresh water, 19% of all fertilizers, 30% of the world's agricultural land occupied to produce food. This also has an impact on deterioration of environment through production of 8% of global and 30% of total greenhouse gas emission from agriculture. It constitutes 21% of landfill volume, which cause methane emission. 1 kilogram of the dry food waste in landfill produce 65 kilogram of methane, whereas 1 kilogram of the wet food waste produce 50 gram of the methane emission. It can be checked through. Remember, best before does not mean throw away after. Vocal for local, shop local from community supported agriculture program to keep food from traveling unnecessary miles. Home composting, it can potentially divert up to 150 gram food waste per household per year. Energy security is essential to drive engine of growth and development. But energy production practices we use currently cause methane emission. Methane is emitted as byproduct during power generation from coal, oil, natural gas, and biofuels rank second in major anthropogenic source of methane production and emission into the environment. It constitutes around 40% of total anthropogenic methane emissions globally. China is at the top of global energy-related methane emissions with 28 million tons, followed by Russian Federation, 18 million tons, United States, 17 million tons, followed by India, Brazil, and Iran. The pathway set out in the International Energy Agency Net Zero by 2050 roadmap for limiting the rise in global temperature to 1.5 degree and avoiding the worst effect of climate change requires energy-related methane emissions to fall by 75% up to 2030. The efforts in this direction are in progress and it is now possible to cut off methane emission during power generation through methane emission capture technique. This captured methane can be used and sold commercially. The green hydrogen is going to replace the petrofuels. World is moving ahead on the target of green, clean, affordable, reliable, sustainable and modern energy under the Sustainable Development Goal 7, affordable and clean energy of United Nations, and can be seen in my previous review talk on the link mentioned here. Ruminant animals like cattle, buffalo, sheep, goat, camel, deer, antelopes, giraffe, and many more digest their food in rumen, a specialized stomach by way of microbial fermentation. This process breaks down the food over time and produces methane as one of the byproducts. The ruminants are third major anthropogenic source of methane production. What comes behind methane emission is explained in this slide. Plants and animals are organic makeup. The organic foods like carbohydrates, fat, protein are indispensable for their structure and function. These organic molecules are made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen with traces of nitrogen and other mineral elements. During digestion and metabolism, the organic food is break down into simpler compounds and the byproducts are excreted as lower compounds of carbon and oxygen like carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide, carbon and hydrogen like methane, ethane, hydrogen and oxygen like water, hydrogen peroxide and hydronium ion, and carbon hydrogen oxygen like bicarbonate from body in exhalation, perspiration, urination, burping and farting. Thus, methanogenesis is a part of the biological process and methane production from ruminants cause loss of 2% to 12% of gross energy of food that could have rather been used up by the animal for growth or maintenance. In this way, every living individual, right from ant to zebra, including humans, emit simpler breakdown products of enteric fermentation, of which methane is one of the constituents in variable amount. Ruminants produce methane through fermentation in both the rumen and hindgut, whereas non-ruminants produce it in hindgut. Amongst ruminant, 87% of the total methane is produced in rumen and 13% in hindgut. The methane produced in rumen is mainly released in burping, whereas methane produced in hindgut in expiration and flatus. When plants and animals are buried deep and subjected to immense heat and pressure over millions of years, it produces crude oil from the organic makeup of the plants and animals, from which natural gas is extracted, which mainly contains methane and is used as fuel. Disintegration of organic constituents under natural environment also produce methane. Therefore, whether organic substance disintegrates in natural environment or in biological system, it will produce methane more in natural disintegration in environment by same amount of the organic food, as major fraction of it is utilized in the biological system in assimilation process. We should know how much amount of methane an individual excrete. Methane emission from animals of few species is presented in the slide. The single adult cow or buffalo produces 70 to 120 kg of methane each year. Sheep and goat 6 to 8 kg of methane each year. Camel 46 kg per year. Horse, pony, donkey 10 to 18 kg per year. And pig 1 kg per year. The methane production in basting activity exhibit that 1 kg of kitchen waste produce 0.0492 to 0.35 kg of methane on disintegration. 1 kg of the dry food waste in landfill produce 65 kg of the methane, whereas the 1 kg of the wet food waste in landfill produce 50 gram of the methane. The methane emission from 1 kilogram of the agriculture waste like paddy straw, it produces 0.039 kg to 0.118 kg if processed through the anaerobic digestion, whereas on burning it produces 0.25 to 0.28 kilogram of the methane in the environment. Therefore, it is clear that the agriculture waste burning, it produced 2.4 to 7 times more methane. The ruminant thrives on the agriculture waste and convert it into the dung, which is best suited for the biogas production and contribute in the energy security via the compressed biogas plant and the fertilizer security through the leftover slurry in organic culture of production. The kitchen waste, paddy straw, wheat straw, cow dung, and many more agricultural stuffs have also been experimented for biogas production for cooking fuel security in kitchen, and cow dung is promising. A single adult dry cow of 500 kg pass an estimated 20 to 30 kg of dung per day. The 20 kg of cow dung can produce approximately 4 to 6 kilograms of the methane, as 1 kilogram of cow dung can yield about 0.2 to 0.3 kilogram of the methane, depending on the various factors such as the dung's composition, the digester's efficiency, and the temperature control. And it is well harvested in compressed biogas plant. Under its clean energy mission, Bharat is intended to establish 5,000 compressed biogas plants to generate 15 million metric tons per annum clean energy. The cow dung is well fitted in this module. This slide is intended to present the balance sheet of methane emission from a single adult dry cow of 500 kg. As a general guideline, cow consume 3 to 4% of their body weight in dry matter daily. A single adult dry cow of 500 kg can eat 15 to 20 kg of dry matter per day. For example, with maize silage at 30% dry matter, cow would need 50 kg of the maize silage. The silage produce approximately 0.15 to 0.27 kg of methane per kilogram of dry matter, depending on the silage composition and the environmental conditions for the anaerobic digestion. The 50 kg of the silage with 30% dry matter on anaerobic disintegration in the environment will produce 2.25 to 4.05 kg of the methane, and the same cow, it will produce about 0.18 to 0.36 kg of methane per day in birth. Thus, cow reduce the methane potential of fodder and release only 4 to 8% of it as methane emission. In other words, cow utilize the methane potential of plant residues from 84 to 96%. Thus, the cows are God-gifted recycler of agriculture waste of human food. The methane emission from enteric fermentation of domestic ruminants is an unavoidable, unwelcome loss of energy in range of 2 to 12% of gross feed intake that decrease the efficiency of production, rather being used by the animal for growth or maintenance and contribute in greenhouse effect. Ruminant survives on the agriculture waste. If not consumed and processed by the ruminants, it will disintegrate into the environment and will produce large amount of methane. This slide presents factors influencing methane emission from animals of food chain. The factors like animal age, breed, body weight, diet composition, feed intake, digestibility, digestakinetics and retention in tract, state of production, farming practices, and others also influence amount of methane emission and require more research work to be conclusive. Reduction in methane production from ruminant animals can result from use of feed additives, inhibiting methanogens, change in diet composition, and use of the nutrigenomic techniques for optimizing the cow's diet based on their genetic makeup. For those who eat flesh, it is worth to mention, in comparison to diets containing greater than 100 gram of animal flesh per day, vegan diets, plant diet containing no animal products, cut methane emission by 93.5% in humans. The slide represents the Bharat initiatives for reducing the greenhouse gases. The carbon dioxide and methane emissions from anthropogenic sources are expected to decline with efforts made by Indian government, and few are mentioned for reference. Carbon dioxide reduction. For reducing carbon dioxide emission and its impact on atmosphere, the Bharat initiated comprehensive mega plantation drives like Operation Green India Mission, Campa, Van Mahotsav, and recently Ped Lagao, Ped Bachao, Ek Ped Maa Ke Naam, and other Jan Abhiyans with world records of maximum plantation in a day to increase the plant cover area, to boost sequestering maximum carbon dioxide from atmosphere and returning it back into the carbon cycle. The Uttar Pradesh government also launched a landmark carbon credit finance scheme to promote environmental protection and strengthening economic well-being of farmers in agroforestry by pouring additional earning of rupees 250 to rupees 350 per tree apart from standard market price of the tree, which is aligned with the Bharat's goal to achieve carbon neutrality by 2070. These programs are aimed at raising environmental awareness and re-establishing emotional connect to the nature. Methane emission reduction. The Bharat raised cattle and buffalo for milk, draft and dual purpose. There are more than 75 milch, draft and dual breeds of Indian cattle and buffalo. Both male and female animals of each breed are raised for full lifespan. Bharat has no B breed in cattle and buffalo. The breeds are best suited for particular geographical location. The animals from particular area may be low producing in comparison with animals of breeds in other location, but maximum producer of particular locality in which they are present. Therefore, the methane production of Bharatiya cattle and buffalo cannot be compared with the B breed of cattle from foreign countries which are raised for meat purpose. The Bharatiya breeds can be compared for methane production only with the dairy cattle of foreign breeds, which are raised for longer lifespan and are at par with them in methane production. On weight basis, one animal of foreign breed is equal to 2 animals of Bharatiya breeds. Therefore, number of cows is also not comparable. Further, to reduce the total number and number of male cattle and buffalo in total population, the Bharatiya government has launched the SSS sex sorted semen breeding program for selective birth of female calf only. This will increase the share of female in total cattle population and will also improve total milk production from fewer animals in population. The ongoing grading up of indigenous breed program for better performance is also expected to add in milk production and add in reducing the number of animals. These duo steps of cattle and buffalo population control program are expected to yield in methane reduction from cattle and buffalo in India. The research are in progress to identify low methane producing breeds of cattle and buffalo, reducing methane producing microbial load in rumen, and innovation in ration formulation for reducing methane emissions from cattle and buffalo. Cattle provide FFF securities, the food and nutrition security, fertilizer security, organic farming security, and adds clean energy security through compressed biogas plant. Therefore, the cattle are precious for the organic agriculture in India. For reducing the greenhouse gases from automobiles, the country is intended to replace petrol fuels from green hydrogen in electric vehicle and internal combustion engine module up to 2070. under the Sustainable Development Goal 7, Affordable and Clean Energy of United Nations. This slide presents the conclusive remarks. Limit and adapt to climate change. The world consensus is to limit global warming to 1.5 degree, and it can be achieved through net zero carbon dioxide emission and concurrent reduction in emission of methane, the two most influencing causes of global warming. Neglecting methane emission is a climate crisis, and cutting anthropogenic methane emission from agriculture and animals is emergency of food and nutrition to all humans. It will create hunger crisis and is against the Sustainable Development Goal 2, Zero Hunger of United Nations, aim to end hunger, achieve food security, improve nutrition, and promote sustainable agriculture by 2030. It seeks to ensure that all people, especially the most vulnerable like children and those in vulnerable situations, have access to sufficient and nutritious food year-round. The steady increase in the human population is increasing food and nutrition demand from agriculture and animals respectively, which is primary cause of anthropogenic methane emission in these two categories. Therefore, it will be best to check on humans' population explosion to cut the emission of anthropogenic methane and carbon dioxide both simultaneously for overcoming the climate crisis of global warming, for sustaining life on this beautiful planet Earth. Anthropogenic energy sector should be targeted maximally for reducing methane and carbon dioxide emission. The emission from this sector is expected to decline steadily as hydrogen is going to replace the petrofuels, and world is moving ahead on the target of the green, clean, affordable, reliable, sustainable and modern energy up to 2070 under the Sustainable Development Goal 7, Affordable and Clean Energy of United Nations. Finally, it can be concluded, methane emission is complex debatable issue of maintaining balance between existence of healthy population, healthy food and healthy environment. It is debated under energy security versus environmental security, food and nutrition security versus environmental security, but need a balance between three securities, and human population control can reduce requirement of food, energy and methane emission, bringing all in balance in a single shot. This slide presents the references on which this talk has been framed. The slide presents the continuation of the references used in framing the talk. It is requested to all viewers to register their likes and views in the comment box. Your likes and views will morally boost us for the improvement of the talk. Thank you.